November the 6th, 2020. You're looking at the latest information from the National Hurricane Center, and we have Tropical Depression ETA. It is sustained winds are set at 35 miles an hour. It's moving northeast or to the right now at 8 miles an hour. It's back into the Caribbean. The trend of this model has been moving west or to the east over the last 2 days. Even if I don't do a video on it, we're kind of far out in time. I'm watching it each time I have time, each day when I have time to sit down and check this thing out. But again, the trend now is moving back to the left, to the west. And what they're showing is, you can see it now, 12 p.m. next Wednesday, the storm is setting in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, the models are different. You go from the thing curving back into Florida, and from the Navy model, and from the Canadian model possibly coming into Mississippi or Louisiana. We'll take a look at that, but I know it's going to change. That's why I haven't been doing a couple of updates a day on it. It's just changing too much, and everything would just add to the confusion. Now we're getting closer to the timeline, and when it's back over open water, we'll keep a little closer eye on it. But you see in the blue lines, you got tropical storm warnings up through central Cuba. In western Cuba, you got tropical storm watches. That's going to slow it down. That's 12 p.m. Sunday. It's over Cuba. By 12 a.m. Monday, you're looking at a tropical storm headed up towards either the Keys or the Tortugas in that area, and we'll take a look at the models. Now, the area of where the weather is disturbed in this part of the Caribbean is very large. Let's look at one of the satellite images. Now, these are current satellite images from this afternoon up into the latest frame tonight. It is 5:59 p.m. Central Time, and you can see that where the storm is now, you get some very tall clouds. You can tell as it switches to infrared as the sun goes down in the west here in this area. Also, just a note, guys, we had a beautiful day. And it's still beautiful weather here in central Mississippi. Very nice, breezy, autumn, leaves falling. You can't get any better. But I did notice it was clouding up towards sunset. And that's because you've got a system off the coast of Louisiana now that's throwing some moisture up. So, and the National Weather Service is not talking about any early moisture, but just keep your eyes on that particular system from Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, over to the Florida Panhandle. As far as moisture, the storm has a very large area of disturbed weather. Check this out. They're saying by the time it gets out back into the eastern Gulf that it's only a tropical storm. I tend to believe that once it gets over the island of Cuba, and possibly before it will weaken again as it goes over the island, but we could see stronger winds than what they're expecting. They're trying to be conservative on this, but look again into the Caribbean as night falls. Several areas of energy that could combine and make this a very large and powerful storm. Now, 30 minutes ago, the new models came out, and this is part of National Hurricane Center and their modeling, and Sky Tower 10 down in Florida, guys. Everything is coming together as far as the major models somewhere across central Cuba. Everything is curving back to the left or to the west, somewhere between north of Miami down to the Keys. You see this? Now, the Canadian model brings it up and brings it into the Florida Panhandle. So what I'm saying, the changes are so fast. This morning, the CMC had it coming up into Louisiana and Mississippi. And what's happening, it's going to push a little further to the left or to the west because of the high pressure areas. And then that's going to pass and allow the storm to cut back to the right very quickly. So from the Florida Panhandle at this point, it's in south of there, all the way to the Keys, you're going to have problems. Now, if it comes across South Florida, Florida would get a double impact. But either way, it looks like almost all the models now that aren't carrying it out into the Atlantic, but right here between the CMC and the Navy model, they're going to narrow down. They're going to get closer together, and that's going to give us some information as far as last-minute impacts. But just think about this. You've got a large area in the Caribbean of disturbed weather. It will slow down over Cuba some. Then if it makes the far southern tract where it really isn't impacted by the land of Florida, except maybe the Keys or Dry Tortuga Sea, then you're going to have not much weakening occurring at that point. And we still have warm waters in the Gulf here, guys. So we're going to be watching this. Let's take a look at a couple of the models. Now, this is the Navy model called NAVGEM, and I've said this before. Who has more interest in the weather in the oceans than they do? So what we're seeing is the storm comes up, goes across Cuba, and makes a sudden right turn as it's approaching the Florida coast. What's happening is, above the storm in the red and the orange is the high pressure. It senses and finds a hole in between the two high-pressure systems that are moving across the U.S. and into the Atlantic. Once it sees that hole, there it goes up the East Coast. Now, that's the Navy model. Again, take a look at it here. Cuba skirts southern Florida, even up as far as the Everglades, moves out, and then suddenly that gap in the high pressure throws it back along the East Coast. Let's look at the Canadian model. And what we're seeing here is a more southerly and westerly track. As that high pressure system allows that gap to open, this time the Canadian model is showing it moving across further north into Florida. Check it out, across Cuba, catches the Keys in that area, and then across Florida, Georgia, South Carolina. Notice that in the last few frames, there's a low pressure system that's going to follow the storm. Here it comes. There. Now, as it finds that gap, it's going to move up. But coming out of Texas, guys, there's going to be some more weather coming in right there in the blue area. So we may have this storm come in and cooling temperatures with some moisture. But just wanted to give an update on it. It's changing so fast. It's hard to give very accurate information at this point, but they are narrowing the path and the projections. We're watching it. Guys, let me say this about what we're seeing nationwide right now. And you can't talk about it much. You know what I'm talking about, but it may be, and there's indications, that if you can name the singer of the Police, you may understand what's going on. It's a heads up. Be safe.